one of the archetype characters in the feature is based on a Superman-like character, right? Comes from a big city. In our case, comes from New York. We wanted to have him have a girlfriend that was sort of an archetype of a investigative journalist, right? Like a Lois Lane type.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Bad Thoughts podcast. Today we have a special guest, our buddy Jay Sherer. How you doing, Jay?
Hey, it's good. It's good to be here. I'm glad that you guys invited me on the show. I would love to talk to you about all the stuff we're going to talk about today. It's always good to see you on OG 55. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course, man. Yeah, I want to give a huge shout out to OG 55 and George. They do amazing work. They got us in contact with Jay. Jay, we did a little bit of background on you. Saw the videos, of course, on his channel, and we just love your opinions and all that stuff. So we'd love to get your perspectives on a couple things, if you don't mind. But if you could tell the people who you are and pretty much what you do.
Yeah. So as you said, my name is Jay Sherer, and I do several different things. I am a writer, filmmaker, first-time director. So that was really fun. Done several short films as a producer, written several short films as well. Got some features that I've written that I'd love to get out there. We're working on that too. But then I also, I'm involved in marketing, and then I'm also a fan of Disney. So that's how I know the Orange Grove 55 crew. And then I had the Story Geeks podcast for a long time where we dig deeper into popular geek stories. And geek we define as like science fiction, fantasy, comic book. And we had that started in 2016. And during the pandemic, it just kind of like, we couldn't get together in groups anymore to do the podcast. And it was before like streaming like this was like StreamYard and Zoom were really good. Yeah, it wasn't really a thing. And so after that, I tried to kind of bring it back a little bit. And then I thought, you know what? All my co-hosts, I had like 5 or 6 co-hosts, all of them had other stuff to do in life. And so I just reached out to Orange Grove, and I was like, oh, gee, like, what would you think if we brought the Story Geeks over to Orange Grove 55? Because he was talking about wanting to do more movie stuff, not just theme park stuff. And I was like, well, I can bring our format over to your channel if you want. And he's like, yeah, bring it over. That sounds awesome. So now I'm part of the Orange Grove 55 crew. So yeah, do several different kinds of things.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and you do have a short film coming out. I want to get into that a little bit, but Canna Camper, want to ask how you doing? How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was great, man.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate
happy
you
birthday.
Too. Thank you. It's also gonna be Tone's birthday coming up here too. December babies.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Well, no way. Happy birthday to both of you.
Appreciate it.
I'm old. I'm feeling it. It's crazy. I woke up this morning, my back's hurting. But you gotta live life, keep doing what you gotta do. I will say though, go Niners. That was my weekend. Go Niners. And I had some good Mexican food, and I'm very happy. Happy day.
Yeah, good. Oh, my bad again for not being able to come, but I will be coming this weekend. We'll do a little something.
Yeah, it's awesome. Just forget about me. I get it. This guy didn't want to drive in the snow. Like, what kind of baby doesn't want? Oh, I can't drive. I can't drive when the snow's like 10 feet deep. Yeah, come on.
In my defense, I am from the Bay Area where it barely freaking rains, let alone snow. So if I drove through that in my little Hyundai, either way, I wasn't making it to you. So
no, I don't blame you, dude. And we talked about this before. Like, it would have been going through Truckee. They're one of the coldest places you can get in California.
Exactly. I'm sure Jay knows about cold living in Colorado, right?
Yeah, I had to get a whole new car set up when we moved out here like 2 years ago. I was like, dude, we need 4-wheel drive, we need snow tires. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah. I for sure got to get snow tires before summer hits, before winter comes, right?
Yeah.
Let's get into it, Jay. Your short film that's coming out, it's called No Vacancy. How long ago did you write this script, and how long did it take for you guys to start filming this the movie?
Yeah, so this happened a lot faster than I was expecting it to happen. Part of the reason I moved out to Colorado was that I felt like in California, Southern California especially, like there was so many things going on and so much traffic taking up so much of my time that I didn't have a lot of time to do things that I really enjoyed doing, like writing. And then post-pandemic, I came down with what's called long hauler COVID, right? And and that put me out for like I still can't work full time anymore. I can in like I can in like spurts, but I can't just like I get too worn out, too fatigued and stuff. My symptoms start coming back if I do too much. So I have long haul COVID post pandemic. I'm in northern Colorado now, and one of the only things that I can do. Last year I was way worse than I am this year, and one of the only things I could do was write because it was the one thing I could do on my phone that didn't wear me out. Even if I was doing like a podcast like with you guys, it would just my neck would start to hurt. I'd start to get like dizzy. I was getting real dizzy that at that time. So I was spending a lot of time writing scripts, and I wrote a feature film called The Harlequin. And the Harlequin is just a really quick setup for the Harlequin. The Harlequin is about this remote motel where all of a sudden all these characters start showing up to this motel, and they all have briefcases with them. And it turns out that they're all being blackmailed, and that's why they're showing up at the motel together. And you start to learn as the movie goes on that these are they're sort of unique people. They have maybe some giftedness, and so we based a lot of these characters off of superhero archetypes. And so they're all arriving to this motel, and they're all dealing with this situation where somebody is blackmailing them, and that whole story unravels. And when I wrote that feature, one of the things I thought was, man, I really like this feature, but if I want to raise money to be able to do this, because you have lots of options when you're writing a script. You can try and sell it to somebody. You can try and get representation to then sell to somebody. You can try to do it yourself. You've got options, and my co-writer Nathan Sheck and I are not represented right now. We don't have an agent, and we haven't really pursued trying to get an agent. Like I haven't pursued trying to get an agent for like, I don't know, a decade. And so it just dawned on me that like if we're going to make this feature film, we're probably going to need to raise the money and do it ourselves. But one thing that could help us do that is to have a proof of concept film. And so some people will do a proof of concept film. They'll film like several scenes from the feature, and they'll say, hey, if you want us to finish the rest of this movie, just help us, give us the funds to do it. But being a writer, you're like, well, that's cool, but I'd also love to have like a prequel short film that also will serve as our proof of concept. And so that's where No Vacancy came in, is that I wrote another film. I was like, I like this film, I'm going to write this other short film. And that's how it all kind of came together. Now the short film is a prequel, like I said. So one of the archetype characters in the feature is based on a Superman-like character, right? Comes from a big city. In our case, comes from New York. And we wanted to have him have a girlfriend that was sort of an archetype of a investigative journalist, right? Like a Lois Lane type of character.
Like a Lois Lane, okay.
Exactly. So the short film is like our Lee Larson is her name. She shows up to this motel with a briefcase because she's being blackmailed, and then that whole situation unravels, and that's what No Vacancy is about.
That's awesome. So question for you, if this does what you wanted to do, you can pretty much take all those characters and do their own like origin stories to kind of tell that back, like how they got there, how they were blackmailed, which I'm pretty sure you might go into anyways, but that's a good concept, man. That's exciting.
Oh, it's really exciting. Yeah. One of the things I set out to do is write it as a low budget film, which is an interesting, I had not done that before, but like, when you're starting out, they don't call you up on the phone and be like, you've never done anything before. Do you want to write Endgame? Like they don't do that. Right. Like, and so I was like, I should try my hand at writing some low budget stuff that maybe we can even produce ourselves. And so one of the aspects of filmmaking that costs a lot of money is how many locations you're going to have. So that's why setting it at a motel is like easier to do, because you don't have to go to multiple locations. The entire shoot takes place there. Yeah. And so one of the things that we don't have their origin stories, but we do have, they have these flashbacks into the thing that they did that they're being blackmailed about. So it's something that they're kind of trying to cover up because it's a secret of their past. They don't want to really get out there. And so we see those things happen, but they're done in a blackout studio. And No Vacancy has that as well. You'll see it in the film when it comes out. And so that's like when they go back into their past to think about the event, all the backgrounds we take out and we just focus on them and whatever situation they're dealing with at that time. And again, that just reduces the price because that's not another location. It's just a blackout. room, right? So
So let me ask you, if you
yeah.
don't mind me asking,
Go for it.
what is your goal budget on this film?
So I've been told that the ideal budget would be between 1 to 2 million for the feature. And then of course that's your baseline. And then, you get like bigger name actors and then it just keeps going up from there.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
So 1 to 2 million would be the budget if you wanted to try and do it for the lowest cost possible.
Mhm.
I would, if I'm going to raise money and I'm going to produce it myself, then there's no chance that I'm raising the money without raising money for marketing as well. Because I think it's a place where people, they get it really wrong, especially right now. The independent film marketplace is not the healthiest of marketplaces comparative to how it's been in the past. I was just listening to a podcast about this, so that's not like me just doing my own analysis. That's like other people saying that.
Yeah.
And so I think that I would want to raise probably another 500,000 on top of that, right? Like just to be able to do marketing ourselves and get the word out there so that you can sell to a streamer, so that you could go to an A24 and they'll say we'll distribute it for you nationwide and we'll take a cut of whatever you do. That kind of stuff is where you kind of got to go with it. So but I'll be talking to a lot of people who are way smarter than me when it comes to that time. So we'll see.
So,
Okay.
is that the main goal after this is out, is to get it to, those big companies to see if they either buy it or help you fund it? That's the ultimate goal from this movie.
Yeah. So what we'll do is this is the process that we'll take. We'll take the proof of concept, no vacancy. We'll take that and then we'll start to show it around and we'll say like, look, here's no vacancy. This is what we can do if we had, that it's a really expensive short because it was a full 4-day shoot. So
Okay.
it's right up near 50K that it cost to make that one. That's a really expensive short. Like a lot of shorts are not that, but we saved up our money, made sure we did it right, partnered with the right people and everything. So we'll take that film, show it around, and then with several different options in mind. One option is that we can sell the script to a studio, and hopefully they would entrust the same team to do it. So they'd say, okay, we'll buy it, but we'll give you the budget. It's going to be our movie, but you can direct it, Jay, and you can get the same kind of crew that you had to do No Vacancy to do it. If that doesn't work, then we'd fall back to saying, okay, then we'll go raise money to do it completely ourselves, and it'll be completely independent. And if that fails, then we'll try and probably get representation to then sell the script, right? So it's just a number of sequences that we can go through that I highly doubt we'd sell the script because we really love it, and because we'll have done No Vacancy, we know what that process is like. So I highly doubt that we would sell it outright just as a script and let someone else take it over and do whatever they want with it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Know what I was thinking of too when you said low budget and one location? The first thing to my mind is The Hateful Eight. Like Tarantino did that great. He had Colorado. I think Colorado actually gave him a couple $1 million to basically be there, and that's a start right there. And then I think they got away with it like 40 to 80 million, I think, something like that. And all it was is one location. Sorry, I'm gonna go on a little tangent. The best part about that movie is the way he filmed it. Just that giant, what was it, 70 millimeter, like just beautiful. And he had everybody in all the shots. It was crisp, and you don't really see that at all, And I think that was one of those things where I watched it. I'm like, holy fuck, there's still someone out there that can do this and bring this magic in, like you said, on a lower budget. You don't need to spend $200-300 million on things.
Yeah. I don't even know how they're getting away with spending 203. I mean, well, let's be honest. They're very rarely getting away with it this year. Right?
Yeah.
Like, a bunch of them are losing money like crazy. So
Disney.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think one of the things that's happening, and if you look at the economics of filmmaking right now, and I say like the independent market is suffering because of these economics. Like it used to be that you would have box office revenue and then you would have DVD sales revenue. You'd always have rent. We still have rental, so we still have that. But DVD sales have like plummeted. I mean, those are so much lower because so many streamers are putting them right out on their streaming service right after the box office. So sometimes you can be able to go box office, sell to streaming. Some of the streaming services are studios, so they don't make any money off the streaming necessarily. And people aren't renting it off the streamers. They're just paying their normal monthly bill, and then they're getting access to whatever they get access to. But then you also used to have like, okay, now we can sell it to network TV revenue too, right? Like, and now the streamers just keep it on the streaming service for however long they keep it on. So the economics of filmmaking have drastically changed, and trying to adapt to that. I think also you guys can tell me what you think of this. I have a theory. One of the things that's hurting the box office this year is that we've become so accustomed to getting exactly what we want. Because like, if I want to listen to the Bad Thoughts podcast, I can subscribe to the Bad Thoughts podcast, and I don't have to listen to anybody else. I don't have to listen to OG55. Why would I want to listen to him? I don't like OG55. I want to listen to the Bad Thoughts podcast.
You know, we're clipping that little section you just said.
yeah, just clip that little piece. And so now that you're in your own echo chamber, and you can have Star Wars however you want to, because like fan fiction is telling you like, we can just do some fan fiction about this. Now it's like there's very few things that can make it to the general marketplace, because people are going like, oh, I would have tweaked it and done this instead, and that's what I would have been happy with. So I think it's getting really difficult. You almost, as a storyteller, filmmaker, you almost have to decide, I'm in this niche and I'm serving this niche, but I can't have a $300 million budget for this niche. I'll never make my money back. So I got to reduce my budget to just do what these people love. And if it goes mass market, great. I don't know. What do you guys think?
And I think there's a lot of people that are doing both of that. So for instance, Activision does whatever the fuck they want to do with Call of Duty. They don't listen to their people, and they're still selling multi-millions of these copies. But at the same time, I don't think half of the people are wrong to want to change certain things, because I played the game, and I'm not someone to change someone's art, but those games are trash. But there's other movies, Star Wars. I'm not a Star Wars fan, but the way I hear people talk about Star Wars and how those are going, maybe those people should listen to some of their fans too. Same thing with going into the parks with Galaxy's Edge. Maybe you guys should listen to some of your people, and still should probably listen to some of your people. So I can agree with you, and I also just, I don't know, just you can't spend $300 million on a fucking cartoon.
Yeah,
like come on, you can't do that.
It's too much money.
It's a lot of money, and I feel like some of these big companies, they try to reach an audience, or they think in their head they're going to reach this audience, and they do nothing to accomplish it to reach that audience. Or if they take less time or less effort to put into like, hey, I want to reach the gaming community, let's put this person playing a video game in a movie, like, and for like 2 seconds, but go into detail about, it feels like they don't put enough effort into reaching certain niches inside a movie, specifically like high budget movies. And it's weird because you would think they could put since it's high budget, they could put something in that movie to reach different kind of spots, but like I said, it just doesn't make sense.
I agree with you, and that's while bringing it back a little bit to the Activision thing. Call of Duty sells because Activision, dude, their marketing is some of the best marketing out there. You got fucking bags of Doritos, you got Mountain Dew. I don't drink Mountain Dew, but I'm going to get a fucking Mountain Dew because I want that damn code so I can unlock all my shit, even though I fucking hate the game. So I do think that marketing plays a big key in all this, and like Jay was saying earlier, like you need to have that part of it, otherwise you're gonna tank. And I think some of these big movies, or even going back to what we talked about with OG, with like Luca, Turning Red, those ones that were released on the Disney platform without actually having a movie being in the movie theaters. They just said, hey, we're putting this movie out, and that was it. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, these didn't do well. And then later on, now everyone's watching these movies because people start talking about it, and that word of mouth. Like, you can't do that. You can't just throw something that you spent. I don't know how much Luca was, but I don't think it was cheap to make Luca or Turning Red. And I think they kind of learned with Turning Red, because they did push that one a little bit more than they did with the Luca film. And I think Luca was way better than Turning Red. So
way better.
They dropped the ball.
What was that movie you had said it was like 200 mil? We talked about it literally on the episode that dropped this morning on OG. What was that movie? I guess it was like 200 mil that they spent on it.
It could have been Turning Red. I think Luca was probably around 100 million if I had to guess, but Turning Red could have been 200 million. That would not surprise
crazy. And that's such a base. No offense to Pixar, but that's a basic movie, man. The whole concept was super basic, and the animation wasn't even like top of their team animation either.
According to Wikipedia, Turning Red had 175 million production budget.
Damn!
Holy shit! The one that's funny to me was the new the new Indiana Jones. I think it was like 300 million.
Oh, it was $295 million.
Yeah,
That's
that's
crazy.
crazy. Like,
That's crazy.
what are you doing? And
Insane.
it's almost like you're just hitting that toilet button, the one that the one that flushes the shit down the drain. That's what you're doing there. But they're throwing their money into it before they actually flush it. It's just be smart.
Yeah, exactly. Be smart, and it's hard. It's crazy that concept is hard for people to be smart. You know what I'm saying? It's
once
crazy.
again an ego thing too.
Yeah.
It is. And hey, I have this money, I'm in charge of this, and I want to do this my way. And you don't listen to all the hundreds of people that need you, especially with what happened with all these writers and having to go on strike. That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
You're not paying your people, you're not listening to what they want. These people are artists. Let them use their creative juices and create this thing. Don't stop somebody from having those dreams, because this is what they do for a living. You just got into that position to tell people yes and no. Pretty much. That's what made Walt different than a lot of these other people that are running that.
Do you think that's the problem though? Is them telling them yes or no? That the person that's telling them yes or no? Do you think that's the problem?
I also think they're thinking pre-pandemic with the Marvel films. Not every movie is a Marvel film.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. I do want to get back into
time out. Stop putting out fucking Home Alone videos. Like, we don't need fucking Home Alone. When you start putting in different kids on each one, you just fucking stop. Same what they did with Three Ninjas. You can't make the Three Ninjas 4 fucking times and have different characters.
That movie was one of my favorite movies of all time. I love Three Ninjas
too. I did like High New Mega Mountain because your boy was in it. Close Fist.
I do want to get back into No Vacancy. Jay, I want to read off a couple of things. I read that, or I saw on the video you did with OG, that you submitted your script into some of the festivals. I'm going to read off some of the ones you, I guess, it was a finalist in. You were a quarterfinalist in the Atlanta Film Festival Screenplay Competition 2023. Quarterfinalist for the Viral Film Festival Screenplay Competition. The quarterfinalist Outstanding Screen Shorts Competition. Second rounder Screencraft Film Fund. Spring 2023, and a quarterfinalist in Big Apple Film Festival Screenplay Competition Fall 2022. That's impressive. That is very impressive. And what exactly? How did you put through the stories that you've written, or the books that you've written, scripts that you've written? How did you come up with this one? Like, hey, I think this one's going to be the one that we're going to run with, to put the budget down, make the film, and put it out to these festivals, and the list goes on. What made you come up with that?
That's a good question. So one of the things that I've also been involved in from like just a normal business perspective is startups, right? I was part of a tech startup in 2014. We completely failed miserably, but I learned a lot through that process. And one of the things I learned was the importance of testing and learning and iterating. And so one of the things I've tried to incorporate into Nathan and I have incorporated into our process is the idea that if we can get feedback and then make adjustments based on that feedback, we'll do it before we jump. So it's not like, what we don't want to do is like what a startup might do is say, hey, why don't you invest in our startup and give us $1 million? And then we have no idea what we're doing and we just crash and burn, right? Instead, what we say is let's see if we can prove that people are resonating with what we're putting out there. And if we can prove that people are resonating with what we're putting out there, then we'll take the next step. So the idea was always kind of like, write the scripts, get feedback from people you trust on the scripts. If the scripts are pretty good, I put my scripts in the contests before they're even completely finalized. And I do that because it's more important for me to learn from it than it is for me to win the contest.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So the versions of No Vacancy and the Harlequin that did really well in those contests are not the final versions. I think the final versions are better than those scripts were, right?
Wow.
But I wanted to learn. I wanted to see, like, if I put this out into the general marketplace, like, do they respond favorably? And I don't think that winning tells you all that much, because what it does is it tells you that the judges at that time, based on whatever criteria they happen to be using, they loved one story above the others, but all the other stories that placed in any kind of are all good stories because they placed, right? So then you go, okay, if they're good stories, and if this is being developed for a marketplace, then I go to my next round of testing, which is to give it to more people and get feedback from them, other people that I trust. And then at that point, what you say is, okay, I feel like I have a really good script. Now I'm going to go see if I can get a movie made. And that's what and that's where you're going to put all your money. So you got to decide that it's really worth time doing. You got to feel it. Like you're like, I feel like this script is important to me. And you also got to make sure that it's important to other people, because lots of people will want to spend your money. But like when I have a, Lucas Colombo is a friend of mine. He's the DP on the film, on our film, director of photography. And he does not work on projects that he doesn't like, right? Like he doesn't need to. He has his own company. He just doesn't work on projects he doesn't like. So I go, all right, well, we'll see if Lucas wants to work on this with us, because I know he likes me, so he'd prefer to work with me, and I prefer to work with him. But he would still tell me, like, this is not the film for me to work on.
Which is good. That's what you want.
You want that, absolutely,
exactly.
So I sent it to him, and he's like, man, I love this script. Let's do it. And then I started sending it to, whether I sent it to actors or whether I sent to whoever. The really rewarding thing from a writing perspective was everybody, if I gave them the script, they were instantly like, I love the script, I'm in. Like, and that's the best, because otherwise you're having to try and talk people into doing something that they don't really want to do. And it just harder to get quality people. But this one worked out really, really well. So I was really happy with how that turned out.
And when you say you give the script to people to read, and you use the big word is trust, what do you mean by that? Like, can they read your script and go do whatever the fuck they wanted, or is it, like, what do you mean by trust? Because people think that they're going to steal it or something like that,
Yeah, I don't tend to worry about people stealing any of my shit, because I feel like it's like, I feel a little bit like if someone were to steal the feature, one, I've entered it in contest, I can prove that I wrote it. So lawyer up, right? Like, because I'm going to come after you. Secondly, if especially if I'm going to produce it myself, I have a high degree of confidence that I'm going to do it the way it should be done, right? I'm not going to half-ass it or something. I'm going to go do it. So I don't have a lot of I've had people before, even friends of mine, say like, hey, do you need me to sign an NDA before I read the script or whatever? And generally speaking, I don't worry about it. If I were going to start going to studios and pitching to studios, that's a different story. I might have NDAs signed. Now most of them will do that anyways, because they want to cover their own ass. They don't want to get sued for any reason. But when it's just your friends and stuff like that, I mean, like, or your industry connections, I'm not one that's gonna hide the script and think like, well, you can't read it, because it's just, most people aren't going to do that. And I'm not sending it to anybody that the most amount of people see the script, especially a short film, when you go to cast it, because now you're saying like, here's the script, you can read it all and then do your I think we gave them the entire script. I don't think we gave them sides. You can give them sides, right? Like just these 2 pages. I think they got the whole script and the sides. And at that point, it's like, I'm already spending the money to make it. So if you were to steal it, I mean, what are you going to do? Make an AI version or something? I'm doing my version, so I don't worry about that too much. But
is the trust more of like you trust them to give you genuine, like, good feedback, like the right feedback?
Yes. So,
gotcha.
So the thing you have to trust people is I trust that their response, they will define whether or not this is the right script for them, right? I have to trust, like, hey, I should like self-select out because this is not the right script for me. Or they will say something like, you know what, like, I'm just not resonating with this concept, so I'm going to self-select out or whatever. So that's the kind of trust I'm thinking of more as like,
gotcha.
Could we work together? Could we collaborate on this? It's such a collaborative process. If you don't really believe in it, I don't want to collaborate with you. You know what I mean? That's like the trust kind of game that you're playing there.
So how long did it take you to film No Vacancy?
4 days. We filmed it in 4 days. Yeah, we had. So the first 3 days were all night shoots. So we started at 1:30 in the afternoon, worked till 1:30 in the morning, 2:30 to 2:30, 4 to 3:30. And then I was at one location. That was at the Four Aces movie set out in Palmdale, California. And then we shifted and we were in the Blackout studio for 1 day as well. So it was 4 days total, about 12 hours each day.
I seen that picture that you put up, or on the episode you did with OG, the all black background. That's pretty cool. It was pretty cool how you were explaining, because it has like a no reflection like tone to it, and I had no idea that was a thing. So that's pretty dope. I like that. So I can't wait.
Cool.
Can't wait for
I have
that.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So someone like me, I can write and see it while I'm writing.
Yeah.
But I can't draw worth shit. And
Yeah.
and it's always one of those where I need to find that perfect person that can somehow extract it from my mind and put it onto paper. Are you that person? Do you have it all together, or do you have somebody on your next to you helping you with that?
That's a really good question. So it's interesting. This is the first project that I ever directed. However, over the years with screenwriting, what I've learned to do. So here's a little secret about filmmaking. Once you hand off the script, it is like if I was selling it to a studio. So once it's no longer mine and someone else has purchased it, or it's in someone else's hands, maybe I'm the producer and I hire a director. Once that happens, like with we did Star Wars Rivals, you brought that up, Tones. Star Wars Rivals, like I had somebody else direct that. I wrote it and I produced it. Well, once you hand it off to the director, it can become whatever. So one of the things I've learned to do in my writing is I've learned to be very particular and specific with tone, with indications of how the shot, like I was telling OG and George, I was saying, if you write Candid Camper walks into building A, right? The director can say, we'll do a wide shot and have it shoot it from way back across the street that he's walking, or we can do a close up and we can have like his hands opening up, like actually turning the lock and going inside. So what I'll try and do now is because one of the things that's a little bit frowned upon in screenwriting is like directing the director, like saying like, now we'll have the camera pan over to or tilt over to. So you don't do that, but what you do is you write it in such a way where it would be awkward to film it in a different way. That's what I try and do.
Smart.
Yeah. So then when I think about that as the director, which I got to do this time, a lot of that's already in my head, right? It's already in my head. Like, this is how I want this to play out, because when I was writing it, I was already thinking ahead towards what was going to be done when I directed it.
Gotcha.
That's awesome. That's a good way to look at it. Yeah. And when you say building A could be where the fuck that person wants to be at that point too.
Totally.
That's a good way to look at it. I never thought of it that way. And that's, like I said, it's always the hard part for me, is because I have so many good ideas and it's just like, damn, dude, I can't get them there. And I think if I was ever to go into films, which I never will do, but I sit there and I have this blank canvas and I just have to tell people to go and build that for me. I have to bank on them actually know what I want. And then I feel like I'll be that asshole, like, no, dude, that's supposed to be here, that's supposed to be there. And I don't want to be that person. Because it kind of sucks. But you going into this yourself and being able to do it yourself, I think is the biggest. It's not an opportunity because it's you doing it and it's your dream to do this, but I think it's the biggest end goal of somebody that's in your shoes, if I'm looking at it from the outside in.
Yeah, and it was fun. It was really fun to direct it too, because I didn't know going in, having never directed something before and being mainly on the writing side. I've done a little bit of producing before. If you asked me to define everything the director does, I would not have been able to tell you. Now, it just so happens that I partnered with the right kind of people, especially people who had skill sets that I don't have. And then I looked it up. I watched a bunch of YouTube videos after, like, did I do what a director does? And I did. It turns out that I did. But I had to have a good team around me, because, like, for example, you'll have some directors, you hear about these directors, I feel like, a little bit more often, but you'll have some directors because what a director really does is a director preps everybody for the shoot. So I have a lookbook about, this is what it's supposed to look like. This is what the costume is supposed to look like. This is what the era that it takes place in. This is what all this kind of stuff. And then you talk to the actors and you go, this is how I see the character. And then you kind of like figure out. It's always better, in my opinion, it's always better to do that stuff before you end up on set, right? Because then everyone knows what they're getting themselves into, and it's like not a mystery for anybody. It's like, okay, I got this. And then I came up with a shot list every day. And it was like, these are the shots that I want for today. And then I talked to my DP, and then we'd say, can we block these out a little bit so we understand where everyone's moving and how everything's going, what everything's happening today. Did all of that. And then I didn't have to worry about like what lens we were using or what the lighting is supposed to be. The DP, if you have a good
DP, worried about that.
Yeah, and Lucas Colombo, who's amazing as a DP, he was like, he would just kill it. You know what I mean? Like, and he's much better at doing it than I would have been, because there were some shots where I'd be like, I'm ready to shoot this already. And he's like, no, it's not perfect, man. Like, there's got to be more haze, or there's got to be like the lighting's got to be a little bit better. And I would have just shot it. So you need those people to kind of like bring all of their talent to the thing and then make it even better than it would have been otherwise.
And a team, you know, you guys have to all be a team. Like otherwise it's not going to work. Yep. Exactly. I agree.
And you have to, and once again, putting the ego to the side, you have to be able to let people still touch your baby. You know what I mean? You have to let them in the room.
Yep.
Go ahead, Tony.
No, I was going to say, so writing a short film, you know, there's people who write a full script from, you know, let's say a movie from beginning to end. A short film is more of like a way to get a bigger, how can I put this? You're eventually going to have a bigger opportunity once you put the short film out, and you're going to be able to, if someone buys it, you're going to be able to make it bigger. Now, how do you have the mindset of writing a short film and not want to elaborate on more stuff because of the short film, you know, aspect to it?
You know what? That's a really good question. This time around, it was easier for me because the feature had come first. So I knew that the short was going to be contained. Now, I will tell you guys, it's a long short. Like, most shorts are like, you know, very few shorts are longer than like 6-7 minutes, because, you know, you have a limited amount of time. Ours is going to be probably more like 20 minutes, which is a long short. But I'd also known that oh, the guy's name is slipping my mind. He's the one that did In Bruges, and he did most recently he did the Banshees of Inisherin. He did 3 billboards outside of whatever, Missouri. I can't remember his name. Martin McDonald. That's his name. He had done a short before he got his first offer to direct a longer film. He did his first short, and it was like 20 minutes, and it was like an Oscar nominated deal and stuff like that. So I was like, well, people will respect it if it's longer, and that's okay. So I made the short longer kind of on purpose, because I also knew that as a proof of concept, if it was like being good for 5 minutes is still difficult, but being good for 20 minutes is like, you should be able to know that I could do this for 90 minutes if I could do it for 20 minutes, right?
Yeah.
If I can do this for 2 hours if I can do it for 20 minutes. So that was part of it too, is like, we didn't worry too much about it being too long. It just meant that our budget kept going up, right? Like, I thought we were going to have plenty of money when we were at 30K, and then when I gave it to Lucas is like, no, man, like, we gotta have more than that. And then fortunately he brought a lot of that money in, so
which is good. That means he believes in this even more. And just kind of, I'm not trying to cut you off, but when you said 20 minutes to me, A, that's confidence in yourself and your team, and then B, 20 minutes is still enough for me to want more, which I think giving me 20 minutes is make me want more than the 7 minutes you would have gave me. We watched a trailer for Blade, the game that's coming out pretty soon by Bethesda, and it was a minute and a half. And I'm like, fuck, that's amazing. But there was so many questions that were unanswered, to the point where I want to play the game, but it's still not enough for just a trailer. And I think 20 minutes as a short film, I think you hit it on the head with that. And like I said, not a lot of people do that.
His Star Wars rival film, that was what, 6-8 minutes, I think it was.
Yeah, it was 6 minutes, because we entered it in the Star Wars Fan Film Awards, and you had to cut it down to 5. So we have a 5-minute version, but then that was like kind of like the director's cut.
Yeah,
right? Like,
and as soon as that ended, I was like, "Fuck!" Like, where the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
That ending I thought was a perfect segue to want more. Like. Yeah. He was the apprentice was about to fight the, you know, oh my god, it was I loved it. I love that. Let's segue into the Star Wars Rivals, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Did you wrote that, co-wrote it? Did you come up with the whole, you know, set and wanted to film it? What was the behind the scenes with that?
Yeah, so the behind the scenes on Star Wars Rivals. So in 2016, that was the year we started our nonprofit production company. So that's how we make everything that we make, is that we have a nonprofit production company. We have a few donors that give us money. we save that money up over the course of time, and we can make films, right? So the whole goal with Star Wars Rivals was that we knew that short films never really make money for anybody. Occasionally you'll get it purchased by a streamer or something like that, but like even if they purchase something like that, they don't necessarily pay a lot of money because it's there's not a lot of people watching short films comparative to other kinds of things. So we said what would be cool is our goal for our studio was to write geek stories, science fiction, fantasy, comic book oriented stories that had like a deeper meaning or purpose so that you could consider something. So it wasn't just going to be bubblegum. It was going to be more like James Gunn as opposed to, like Taika Waititi or something, right? Like, and so we set out to. One of the things that happened was we were looking at the Star Wars Fan Film Awards, and I said to my co-writer Nathan, I said, nobody ever does, like, when they do Star Wars fan films, they're almost all comedies, which are great. Like, they're really funny. There's some people that do some really funny stuff, or they're just like a lightsaber battle for no reason, right? Like, there's very little like in-depth, like asking the question of like, why do people turn to the dark side? Why, like, what happens in people's lives where they make choices that they maybe would regret later on or not regret later on? And so we just thought that setting it in Star Wars would be fun. Setting it in Star Wars would get it extra attention than it would have otherwise gotten if we just made our own and we're like, here it is on YouTube, and then no one knows who we are and it's not Star Wars. Like, people watch that film because they like Star Wars, not because they know us, right?
Yeah.
And that was kind of the reason we did that film. It was just to kind of try and get some more attention. It didn't get as much attention as we actually thought that it would. We thought that it would place better in the competition as well. But I still love that film. Like, that film is super fun. So
how do you get to use those rights of Star Wars or the name of Star Wars? How'd that come about?
Yeah, so Disney is shockingly cool about their Star Wars rights. They let people write fan fiction and they let people do the films, the fan films. The only area where they'll come down on you. And do you guys know who Star Wars Theory is?
I do not.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. He's a YouTuber, right?
He's a YouTuber. Yeah. He's like one of the biggest Star Wars YouTubers. He got in trouble for this. So I'll give you like a case of what Disney's okay with, and then when it crosses the line and Disney's like, that's not cool anymore. So Disney is really cool if you're not earning money off of the projects that you're putting out there. But they won't tell you to cut it down. They won't tell you, like, they won't just give you a cease and desist or anything. The line where they put it with their IP is that if you start to make money off their IP, then they'll come after you and be like, hey, cease and desist, like, you can't do that. So, like, just to give you an example, like, when they say, like, we're going to do the Star Wars Fan Film Awards, which they haven't done since like COVID, when they say they're going to do that, they say, basically, you can do a Star Wars film and you can release it, but you can't make money off of it. And then because music is one of the music is probably the diciest thing if you're going to put up, like, on YouTube and stuff like that, because you guys know, like, you're going to get copyright strikes like immediately. Yeah.
Yep.
So they would actually give you tracks and be like, use these tracks and we won't go after you if you use these tracks. Like, these tracks are good, like, they're golden, right? So the problem that I've seen people run into, like Star Wars Theory, is that he was producing Vader short films and he was going to have a whole series of Vader short films. And he was all mad at Disney because they were coming after him. And I'm like, well, dude, you literally are saying support me on Patreon so that I'll make money so that I can make short films. Like, that's literally like legitimately like the way that they're looking at you. They're going to go, well, you're making money off short films because you're getting supporters to have you go do Disney IP and you're making money off that IP. So that's what happens. That's like what they don't want. And he was all pissed off about it. But I was like, I mean, from a legal standpoint,
you can word that differently though, right? There has to be some loophole. Like, you can word that totally different. You don't have to mention Star Wars at all. Like, hey, I'm doing a short film. And that's all you had to say.
Yeah. Although he wanted to have Vader in it, though. That's the thing. Like,
that's on him at that point.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So that's where they're going to come after you. If you're going to try and make money off of it, then they're going to come after you for that. And so it's a bummer, but it is.
Which is sad for him too, because I mean, he wasn't. don't think he was maliciously or being malicious and trying to like, hey, I need to make this fortune because I need to have this money. He wanted to actually make these films for the people.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's true. He's a very controversial figure in the Star Wars community because he has very strong opinions and he
Mhm.
also has 3 million followers. So
Mhm.
it's like he's like one of these people who's like a lightning rod for. I mean, he has like a Lamborghini or something. Like this is like the amount of money that he's made. So yeah, I think that like it's harder when you are it's harder when you're the Yankees and you're complaining about IP than when you're like the little guy trying to scrap together. Like you're in, AAA baseball and you're like, I might not even get a contract this year. So
Yeah.
that's like a different Disney's going to treat you a little bit differently in those situations.
Yeah, that makes sense.
When you talk about monetizing from the film, like if say you were to put it on, like yours is on YouTube,
Yeah.
are you allowed to earn money off that video that you put on YouTube? The short that you put on
So
YouTube?
I demonetized it just in case. So I
Gotcha.
just put it like but I'm not our channel isn't that's on the How Stories Work with Jay Sherer channel, and I just talk about film over there, and then we have some original content over there. No Vacancy will be on there eventually too. In addition to some other channels that we're gonna put it on. I turned off monetization. We're not that channel's not monetized, but even if it were to be monetized,
You would
that
still
video
turn
is
it off
that video is not. I don't have it
just in case.
just in case. I don't need,
Yeah.
it's one of those things like when it's one thing to go out there and be like, I'm gonna be a YouTuber and I'm gonna get 3 million followers and I'm just gonna do YouTube stuff. It's another thing if you're like, I'm always trying to be careful about this when I do the Story Geeks podcast too. If I'm criticizing a film, it's not because I don't want to work with Pixar. If I'm criticizing Turning Red, I still want to work with Pixar. You know what I mean? Like, so it's harder if you want to be in the industry because you got to be a little bit more careful that you're not burning bridges.
Yeah.
Yep.
But at the same time, people need to understand that you are a human and your opinion matters. And if you want to vocalize that and someone can't be mad because you don't like something that they made. That's not for them to decide that. And I'll tell you straight up, I'm never gonna be in the industry, and Turning Red was not a good movie.
Yeah.
And that's why I went straight to the streaming.
Oh, man.
But at the same time, I don't need to put people down in that sense either.
Exactly.
But I will tell you that something's not good.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I'll tell you. I'll also try to break down where I think it went wrong.
Yes.
So that I'm being fair, right? Like, so I'm not going to trash on your film or like whatever. If I will tell you why it didn't work for me, and that's I feel like it's fair, but it is weird because people can't hold grudges out there. So
Yes,
you
they
never
can.
know.
And then that's the thing, just learn from this. And not saying it's a mistake, Disney, but learn and once again going back to what we talked about, listen to your fans, listen to your people, see what they want every once in a while. I mean, if you they put out a lot of polls, and I still feel like they don't do half the shit the polls even ask.
That's true.
And I don't know. I think people should speak their mind.
Yeah.
Be courteous about it. But like you said, have a reasoning why, so that person can understand where you're coming from. That way you don't sound just like an asshole.
Exactly.
But I have nothing for Turning Red. I just think it was boring as fuck and didn't make any sense. It was just, I don't know. I don't like
And
it.
criticism is the word we should be using here, because
Direct
a lot of people can't take it, and it's kind of
Oh, I love it.
Me too, man. Like for instance, I was literally just talking to my dad about this. Like, I made something the other night, and mom said it was missing like salt or whatever, and she told me that it wasn't good without this. So I was like, all right, we'll put some more in. And then my dad was like, well, don't you get pissed when someone tells you it's not taste? I was like, no, hell no. I wanted for like everyone, like, but it didn't piss me off. Like, people get pissed off when like little things like your hat looks like shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But people need to learn to
Looks more
take
like mustard to
criticism.
me, but but no, and you're right. Like when I wrote my first book, I brought it to my family and I told them, I said, I don't give a fuck who you are and who I am. Read it and tell me what I need to do to fix this and what you like. And everyone came up with pretty much the same answer. And I had them read them all by themselves, by the way, like in the other room, so no one would kind of congregate and do their thing. And they all came up with the same thing. And I went back and I changed it because I was like, oh fuck, okay, that makes sense. They told me why. I'm like, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
And if 7 or 8 people told me, I might as well fucking change it. They're probably right.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree.
Hey Jay, I wanted to ask you, when making specifically No Vacancy, what were you looking forward to the most? Now, it could be filming, it could be just being on set. Like, what was the one thing that you looked forward to the most before you guys started filming?
Oh man. So okay. So prior context, like I said, only done writing and producing, right? Producing is by far the most stressful thing. So and there's a difference between the types of producer you could be, right? Like you could be the money guy where you're like the studio guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay being that person. I'm okay saying like this isn't working, this is working, like and kind of guiding everything. I'm okay with that. But man, like being a producer where you're trying to arrange um you're trying to arrange with the location that you're going to come out and shoot at, that you're trying to negotiate with them. I ran into problems where like the location guy was yelling at me because the permit company screwed up something and they hadn't given me the permit yet. And I'm like, it's like that kind of stuff. I do never want to deal with that. Like someone else can deal with that. Like I'm bad at it. It stresses me out. Like I feel super responsible. And then I feel like I'm being irresponsible, even though I'm not, and I couldn't control it. So like that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, I cannot stand. That's the kind of stuff you do just because you want to make movies, right? Like because otherwise I would just pay someone to do that. For the feature, I'll definitely pay for someone because I don't want to screw it up. It's not my talent area. And like for example, on the Star Wars Rivals, we had this giant problem where I was a producer on that, I was a writer on that, producer on that. My crew, including Lucas, shout out to Lucas, but he stressed me out so much on this. He and my director wanted to film. We were filming at this park, and we thought that we could film off trail. In California, this is a big deal. Like they will not let you film off trail anywhere. We thought that our permit that we had gotten allowed us to film off trail, and they found this awesome location. And they're like, in fact, if you watch Star Wars Rivals, you can see the drone goes right over it. Like this amazing location. And they're like, we're going to film here. So we start filming there. And I'm like, I don't know, guys. This is like very conspicuous, like a really nice area that we're kind of just like tromping on and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm not comfortable with this. It's like, no, don't worry about it. It's going to be awesome. We got kicked out. We got kicked out of the park mid shoot. And so, and they even told us like, they just did this. I didn't realize this at the time, but they were telling us like, we're going to run a whole environmental study. And if you screwed up this area, like you're going to have to pay for it and we're going to fine you and stuff like that. They were just telling us that so that we didn't come back and try and film there again. But we had to go find an empty lot, like several areas. Now, fortunately, you can't tell based on the way we shot it. Like you wouldn't know that we switched locations completely midway through. But our second location was not in the park. There were snakes all over the place that we were trying to deal with. Like that kind of stuff. I cannot stand that kind of stuff. Like I'm not that kind of person. I'm not like you'll hear some filmmakers that are kind of like, yeah, just go guerrilla rogue and like just do all this stuff and be crazy. I'm like, I'm not that guy. I'm not the guy that's gonna do it. I'm gonna abide by what I'm supposed to be doing and what I'm not supposed to be doing. I'm not going to ask the actors to do stuff that I'm uncomfortable asking them to do. I'm not going to try and ask the crew to do stuff that I'm uncomfortable having them do. So I was a little bit nervous going into this because having been a producer in the past, I was just stressed out the whole time, trying to arrange everything and make sure everybody had what they needed. This time around, being the director, I actually had a few people around me who I could lean on to go do stuff. And so I got to focus in on the creative aspects of like what we were doing that day. And that was so much better and so much more in my wheelhouse. I didn't feel anxious about it at all. I felt like excited to go in and do it. So for me, I was a little anxious leading up to it that I was going to have to deal with some of that stuff. But being in the director's seat and being able to be that guy for this particular film went as smooth as I could have asked. And I loved every minute of it. I loved working with the actors, working with the DP. Like all of it was just so fun and so much collaboration around a creative thing that everyone cares about that came from you writing it. You know what I mean? Like that's just such a cool, amazing thing. So I still think writing is like something that I love, like just love doing because it's getting out all of my thoughts. But directing is now something that I'm like, oh yeah, I think I'll do that again because it was just a cool process. So yeah.
What do you want your future to look like in the cinema space?
That's a really good question. That's such a good question because if you break down like how you can make it, right? Like if we talk about like how do people make it? And when we say make it, we just mean work in Hollywood, because some people make it and they're like working in Hollywood 24/7, 365. And some people make it because they did 3 or 4 movies and those are awesome, but it's not really their career. They might have to have some other career, right? I knew from the beginning that I wasn't going to be one of those people that goes into, works in a writer's room for a TV show where like when you start out in a writer's room, you almost start out as like the assistant. You're the one getting coffee for everybody and stuff. And then they're like, cool, now you can sit in on a meeting and like pitch some ideas for this next show. And then you get to be moved up into another writing position. And I knew I wasn't going to probably go down that road, because I'm not the kind of person who's just passionate about writing anything. If you said to me tomorrow, like, do you want to write the next Hallmark movie? I'd be like, not really. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not I feel like I wouldn't bring to the table what needs to be brought to the table for those to work really well. And so early on, after I graduated college, I was like, it was the same thing with like writing for publishers too. It's like they're going to mess with it. They're going to want it to be what they want it to be. They're not going to want it to be what I want it to be. And so that kind of dictated to me, like, you're going to be operating in a very small path, right? Your path is going to be, you need to make shit that people like. And if you make shit that people like, you will be able to make more shit that people like, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so for me, that's kind of been the path. So for me, the future looks like kind of just one step at a time along that same path. Like, next thing is seeing if we can get the Harlequin made. If we can't get the Harlequin made, let's just say that, like, it doesn't go anywhere, then I will probably try and get representation and try and sell some scripts, right? And just, one by one kind of make my way forward. But a lot, I think, has been on me having to put everything together myself and be that kind of overarching producer role to a degree, not like a line producer who's trying to figure out the locations like I talked about. That's just too stressful for me. But like the producer who's saying, like, who do I need to bring in to get stuff made? So I'm probably going to always wear that hat to a degree, and then we'll just see where that goes. But I don't I don't have like this overarching dream of being like the Martin Scorsese of geek films or something. For me, it's more like, no, I just want to make good things that are meaningful to people and work with cool people along the way.
Yeah. And I agree 100%. And that's what this podcast, is. We just want to speak our mind and let people hear it. And if you like it, hell yeah. And the coolest thing about you is that you have this, what you like, and what path you want to go down, and you're going to do it no matter what, because you're doing it yourself. And I think a lot of people need to have that mentality. Otherwise they're going to be stuck on the couch or stuck in their own way of whatever someone else wants you to do.
Yep.
And not trying to tell people how to do their life or run their career, but sometimes if the boss tells you to jump, you don't need to always jump. As long as you tell them the reason why you don't want to respectfully, and there's another way to get around. Maybe there's some stairs on the other side. You don't actually have to jump off. So speak your mind sometimes. Don't get yourself in trouble though. And do your own thing. That's what you gotta do, but be respectful.
And know what kind of person you are too. Like, there's I learned this when I was doing, like, I used to have a corporate job, right? And then I started working with startup people, and I'm like, there is a spectrum of kinds of people where you could be like, I do it myself. I don't like other people telling me how to do it, or please give me instructions on what to do and I'll do it this way every single time. And knowing kind of where you fit in that spectrum is really important. If you're not the kind of person who if you find it incredibly stressful to go out there and like us and do stuff yourself and like create stuff for other people, if you're not that kind of person, if you're the kind of person that needs to get hired onto a team and like know your role and know how to operate in that role, just be that person. That's okay. But figure out, if you're the kind of person who's like, I'm going to do my own thing, and you get stuck in a job where they're like, no, you do my thing and you do it my way every time, you're going to be the most miserable person ever.
Mm-hmm.
So just kind of figure that out,
100%.
I want to ask a couple more things before we get out of here. So you've written scripts and written books. The Time Slinger that you had written was the top seller on Amazon, which is amazing. Congratulations for that.
Yeah.
How can you differentiate a book from a script, or does it correlate with each other?
So they correlate quite a bit. Usually people, when they read my books, they'll say that they were very cinematic. Usually is what they say,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, it's pretty funny. They tend to be not as long. They tend to be not as verbose. They tend to be a little bit more like visual. But the core difference that I make between a book and a narrative that you can tell in a book and a narrative that you can tell in a film is that in a book, what makes books more interesting to me is when you get to understand the inner thoughts of the person, right? Because like film can't really do that. Film
Yeah.
can try to attempt it, but it's usually not very good at it, right? Like it's usually not very good at understanding what the internal thought process of the character is. You just see their actions and you hear their dialogue.
Yeah.
But so what I really like about when I work on a prose story, like a book or a novel, I usually love to get into a first person narrative. Now, Time Slingers is not that way, ironically. Time Slingers was a completely different kind of experiment, actually,
Yeah.
which I can talk about if you want me to, but it was a totally different kind of experiment.
Yeah.
Whereas like Death of a Bounty Hunter, that I wrote to be a full cast audiobook because I had a bunch of friends who I wanted to cast as characters in that audiobook.
That's
So
cool.
there's like 11 voice performers on that audiobook with like 14 different roles. But I wanted it to be first person perspective so that just like we were talking about with Game of Thrones, like they followed a character and you kind of got to see how they think and how they feel. It was still a little bit of a third person, but as a third person omniscient, so you could kind of tell what they were going through.
Yeah.
But this was like, the character is telling you their story as you go through it. So I like that about books because you can't really do that on film all that well. And like I said, Time Slingers is kind of a different thing altogether. But Death of a Bounty Hunter, yeah, is that way. So that's the difference for me between film and books. Is the main difference is like how much can I get into the character's psyche versus how can I visually explain to you what the character's psyche is, right? Like it's a different kind of thing.
So speaking of that now, what is your thoughts when someone goes and makes a movie based off of a book and they just fucking botch it? Like, is it like, dude, stick to the lane or use your creative juices and kind of like try to come up with something different? What are your thoughts?
Ooh, that's a good question. It kind of depends on the book, to be honest with you. Now, I am not a when it comes to storytelling, I am generally speaking not a traditionalist in terms of I'm going to be mad if you deviate from the book. The only time that's not true is if you try and take the message that a book was intending to convey and you just completely change it and say like, no, there's a different message. And I'm like, well, then then why call it the book to begin with?
Yeah,
Like it's a
exactly.
different thing, that's the only time it really irritates me. Like, for example, I think Lord of the Rings, the films, personally speaking, I think are better than the books because the message is the same message. It's the same message throughout Lord of the Rings, the movies, as it is Lord of the Rings, the books. But I think that what Peter Jackson did was he kind of cut out all of the stuff that Tolkien fell in love with in his books that probably an editor would have removed as well. And so like I love what Peter Jackson did because he didn't change the message. He just kind of did it in a more cinematic way. I was talking to Tones on DM about like and we'll probably talk about this with Game of Thrones, but the same thing, like Game of Thrones. Well, I actually think, and we'll talk about this when we talk about this, Tones, but I think you can actually watch the moment when they get ahead of the books and the whole thing kind of goes from being like a George R.R. Martin thing to now this other creators thing. And I go like, that doesn't work anymore. Like it doesn't work anymore. So that to me, as long as you're maintaining the message and what the message means, then I'm totally down with that adaptation.
Like
the talk. We're not going to talk too much about Game of Thrones, but like you said, you can see the exact time, and it was weird because when season 7 hit, that book wasn't written. It was a dip, but it still kind of made sense. But as soon as season 8 hit, it was just downhill from there. But do you want to ask him a question before we get out of here? I got one more question for him, and then we'll
Yeah. So real quick, this kind of based off like one of your last videos you made, when you started telling everybody about No Vacancy, you literally like ran and jumped into that chair, and I was
I
just
know.
like waiting for you to eat shit. So I was wanting to ask, like, how many times did you actually film that before you did, or
I
was that
think I
one
only
take?
had to film it like 2 or 3 times, but here's the thing. Every time I filmed that, I kind of had it looks more drastic than it is the way that I cut it because it's like I didn't have to. Basically, all I had to do was like stand up here and just like fall into it and give the
Okay.
perspective that I had run and like was aggressive.
Yeah, you went
But
totally like flash on it, and I was like, "Fuck, he's about to eat shit." I'm waiting for it. I'm like, way to cut a promo.
I'm glad you said that because no one has mentioned that to me, and I've always been like, dude, that took a lot of work to figure out how that was going to be compelling.
That's awesome.
Uh,
Well, keep doing it because I watched that moment multiple times. I'm like, he's gonna do this. He's gonna
yeah.
eat shit today.
That's
So
awesome.
one of these days, you have to send us the blooper if it ever happens.
Yeah, totally, absolutely.
So we got two small questions we're gonna ask you. They could be as quick as you want, but since you're a director, writer, filmmaker, what's your favorite movie of all time?
Mm.
Ooh, that one's an easy one for me. I have ever since I was a little kid just fell in love with Raiders of the Lost Ark. Like to me, Raiders of the Lost Ark is the best film of all time. It's meaningful because it is an adventure film, but it takes into account like mysticism and in terms of like what is the Ark of the Covenant and like how is it going? Does it have powers? Does it not have powers? It takes different perspectives on that. So where it's like people who think it does have powers to people who think it doesn't to Indy who thinks it doesn't, but then like is faced with the reality of maybe it does. Like all of those things were really, really fascinating to me. And that movie is just an amazing movie. There's so many good movies out there though. I love so many movies, but Raiders of the Lost Ark is my favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most like resonate with you, especially like if you watch it at a certain time or with someone specific. Like my favorite movie, it might not be everyone's favorite, but
Yeah.
it's Crimson Tide. It's
Oh,
it was one of my dad's still alive, but watching that movie with my dad like over and over, it was so. Even though I watched it 2 or 3 times, I was still on the edge of my seat. Like I loved that movie, and
that's cool.
Denzel did his thing, and just the whole mutiny and stuff. It was just really intriguing to me. So Crimson Tide is one of my favorites.
That's amazing.
What about you, Kenneth? What's your favorite movie? I don't think I've ever asked you this.
Fuck, really? You don't have to. Fucking Goonies,
Oh,
dude.
yeah, that's
Come
right.
on, man. And I think it's one of those, just kind of like what Jay was saying, is resonates with you, especially being a kid and having those adventures and just doing whatever the fuck they wanted to do just to find this treasure to save their family's land and their houses. That's awesome, man. Even though at the end of the day they could just went around the back of the fucking what is it, the beach, and could have went in there, grabbed all that shit, so having to go on an adventure. But it is what it is. And I'm very upset that they never made a second one. And
Yeah.
you had some of the best people make that movie, which people don't really realize. Like you had I can't even think now. You just have some fucking big names.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Was it Zemeckis? Did Zemeckis do that movie? Was he the director of that movie?
It was oh fuck, I'm gonna I
Wait 2
can't think
seconds.
right
Oh,
now.
Richard Donner.
Yeah, thank you.
Richard
Yeah,
Donner did
Donner.
it, yeah.
Donner passed, right? A couple years ago.
Yep.
Yes, it was
Yeah,
Donner,
he
and
did
it
he
was
was
Spielberg.
Superman, Lethal Weapon, like, yeah, he's a
Lethal
big
Weapon.
deal.
And then what's her name was on that too? The Disney lady. The one
Kathleen
that,
Kennedy.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
some big names.
Mhm.
But
Before we get out of here, Jay, last question for you.
oh no, we got some other questions for him, Tony.
Well, we'll get to that one.
So don't say it's the last question. Then we got a couple more
The
questions.
actual question, besides like the miscellaneous questions. What's
Miscellaneous. I'm so these are
these
real
are
questions.
yeah, but they don't. Okay, yes, you're right.
Thank
You're
you.
right.
We weren't asking if they weren't real.
So the question that I wanted to ask you that refers to film.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one actor to star in one of your movies that you've written, which actor would that be?
Tony's
Oh
come up
my
with some
gosh.
crazy ass questions tonight. These are great.
That's a really good question. You know what? I was just watching somebody the other day that I was like, this person is amazing. I just watched The Haunting of Hill House. I'm not even a horror guy. And so
Yeah, me
I
neither.
delayed watching this for like a long time because my wife
It's
loves
so
horror.
good.
Yeah, and she made me watch the first episode. And remember how the first episode ends, where the brother turns around and sees the sister. I'm like, dude, I can't watch this. Like, I'm gonna have anxiety for days. But I forced myself to sit down and watch it, and it was just brilliant. I loved it. But who would I work with if I was going to work with any actor? I just feel like I could have a list of a bunch of people at this point. I mean, shoot. Every time I think of somebody different, I'm like, no, not that person. Maybe somebody else. Come back to me on this one. Come back to me on this one. Even ask me some miscellaneous questions and stuff. That's fine. I'll come back to this.
What
I'll
about
figure
you,
this out.
Tomes? If you were to cast a film and you were to have that one star, who would it be?
I mean,
I know it's hard because you have to base it off what kind of film you're going to be making. But
I've always loved Denzel, man.
Denzel's amazing.
Denzel has he can have so many different characters he can play, and his presence is known on the film too. Like he takes away from everyone else that's on that screen, and an actor like that is just would be so intriguing to just watch film. You know what I'm saying? Because you would feel it. I'm never directed anything, but as a director, you would probably feel his presence by just filming him. So I believe I would choose Denzel for sure.
You know who's been really crazy on my radar, and I actually said it out loud, like to my wife when we we're watching it. I'm like, this dude's a fucking great actor. Is Evan Peters from American Horror Story? Just him playing all those different roles and just switching these different scripts, like and getting skinny and like just oh man, he just plays these parts and gets really deep into them. And I think he would be able to do something that I have one of those creative juices in my head to do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
One that stands out to me is Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell is just like that dude is so good in whatever he does. He was in Moon. He was in Iron Man 2, I guess he was in, which is not like his best role ever, but like I think Sam Rockwell would be really fun to work with. I think it would be really fun to work with. I mean, Denzel's a great choice too. Anybody I respect actors who kind of just stick to one lane and do like one lane type stuff. But if there's an actor, there's a lot of character actors out there that have just done so many various kinds of roles that my level of respect for them is like, I can't believe you can be this guy over here and make people laugh and then be this guy over here and make people cry. Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Owen Wilson would be another one, by the way. I've always been a
Owen Wilson, really?
fan. Yeah.
That's
here's a dark horse one. Here's my bad thoughts of the day for your Bad Thoughts podcast. I actually would love to work with Shia LaBeouf. I know that's controversial.
No, not at all.
Dude, that guy can act his ass off, dude.
I like him. I think he just done some stupid shit.
Exactly.
But yeah, I would never take that away. Dude, even Stevens, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
I know, right?
Holes?
Yeah, Holes. The Transformer movies, I thought he killed, dude. I thought he did amazing in the Transformer movies. And what's her name? I'm losing it right now. She plays in she plays in Stranger Things.
There's another guy, David Harbour, I'd love to work with. Who plays Sheriff Hopper?
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Oh, here's that.
Are you talking about the what's her name? I'm
blanking on it too. Millie Bobby Brown. Jesus.
Oh yeah. Millie Bobby Brown.
Okay, this might be a hot take, but to me, I think Millie Bobby Brown is going to be huge. Like it's a huge actress in films to come. Like she's going to be wanted in every film. She's a good actress, but because she's so young, she's going to be in everything that you'll see in the future. But I think she's pretty good too.
You know who else is awesome from that show? I can't remember her name for whatever reason. If you asked me last year, I would have known it because I was just like, she was in multiple things. She was in The Whale, but the girl who plays
Max.
Max, that actress,
Sadie Sink. Yep.
Yeah. She is phenomenal.
Yep, I agree.
The things that she's able to do on screen are really compelling. So. And I also love, that whole cast. I have it on my wall. That whole cast, even like Joe Keery. I love Joe Keery.
They're all amazing, and it sucks because this is going to be its final season, and I do want to eventually talk to you about Stranger Things because of all the stuff that's came from the strike, and some of the cast doesn't even want to play in the show anymore, which is sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is going to be the final season, which sucks. So
totally.
we'll get into that another time.
Okay, where are you guys gonna get into that at?
What am I called? Bad Thought Studios. Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Bad Thought
Bad
Studios.
Thoughts, you know. Hey, name dropping, man.
So our questions for you, the quick questions. If you were to win the lottery, you know, everything will be paid for 10 generations
Ooh.
past you. You don't have to worry about housing, investing, none of that stuff. What's one thing, if you won the lottery, what's one thing you would buy? Something special.
Exactly, like something that meant something. Like as a kid, you saw and you're like, "Fuck, I need that."
Oh my gosh, something that I saw as a kid.
Or just in general. It could have been, you know, as an adult.
I mean, my number one answer would be like I would fund my own movies. Like, I mean, like, I know that's cheesy because we've been talking about movies this whole entire time, but like that is kind of the dream, is like to be able to just do whatever you wanted to do on screen and have no considerations.
No budget, no.
Yeah,
I'll take that. That is a great answer.
Isn't that what Disney does though?
I know, right?
You're not going to be able to for much longer. Right? All
right, let's see if Candid can ask this one. He always has trouble asking.
I'm not going to try today. I'm not here.
So boneless chicken wings, do you consider those chicken wings? Or do you consider them like chicken poppers or chicken
wings? I call them
chicken
chicken poppers or something else, dude. I don't think they're chicken wings. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to go with they're not chicken wings.
Yeah. Awesome. Do you prefer bone in, like chicken wings?
I do. Yeah. I'm not like a huge wing guy. Like I'll take burgers over wings for me personally. In fact, Candid's always posting stuff about In-N-Out, and he's always making me hungry. But yeah, no, I would say if it's a wing, it's got to have bones in it, and I like wings, but I don't get them all that often, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't either because it costs way too much for a fucking wing. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that too.
Like way too much. And not only that too, I like to eat. I need like 40 wings to fill me up. I'm a big guy. I can't. And that's like $400 worth of wings.
That's right.
If you are to order your wings, are you a flats guy, a drumstick, or you just get the mix?
Oh, I'm gonna get the mix every time. Yeah, because every one of them, like a drumstick. So to me, a drumstick is a more efficient vehicle, right? Like you get the end you can hold on to, the other end you can hold on to, but you're gonna get a lot of gristle and stuff in there. Where with the flats, a lot of that meat is very, very tender, which I prefer, but you got to work your way around the bone. I mean, some people are good at it. They just like eat the whole thing in one bite, but I can't do that. So
yeah, especially out in public.
Exactly.
That's what I would see that guy over there. He just shoved that whole thing in his mouth.
Exactly.
No, there's not even gristle left on that shit. All right, Jay. Final question for you: does pineapple belong on pizza?
Look. Here's my opinion on this. First of all, you do you with your pizza. You want to put whatever you want on your pizza, you put whatever the hell you want on your pizza. I personally don't love pineapple on all kinds of pizzas, but if you give me a Hawaiian or if you give me even a barbecue chicken, you can throw some pineapple on that and I'll be all right with that.
Dude, barbecue chicken is such a good pizza.
Yeah, it is.
It's a great pizza.
And it's one of those weird ones that I never order myself, but if someone has it, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm going to fuck that up.
Okay, so I got a question for you guys based on that.
Oh, yeah.
Are you cool if the base layer of the barbecued pizza is the barbecue sauce, or do you want your red sauce with barbecue sauce on top?
I've had it both ways, but I actually enjoy the barbecue base with the chicken.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've only had the base barbecue sauce and never had the red sauce on top. That's good. I never thought. I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah, that's my preferred. So I'm not team camper on that. I gotta go over to the. I don't know. I really like the red sauce when it's done well, because there's so many places that have really shitty red sauce. But if you have a legit red sauce, like don't take it off, man. Just
100%. I agree with you on that. Yeah, but red sauce is hard. Like that's the base of the pizza. Like if you fuck up your red sauce, then don't make pizza. Another one too is like if you have a really good white sauce, I'll get a white sauce on there with some chicken, and I don't know. But see, once again, I never order those pizzas. I'm the guy that just dump everything onto my fucking pizza and let me walk out with it. Like I want you to cook that shit and I want it to fall off.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm meat lovers, so I just go all out.
Yeah. I'm good with just mushroom and sausage, bro.
Mushroom and olives, though.
Yeah, just give me those. Sound good.
Dude, onions on a pizza.
A good red sauce. I'm good with just pepperoni, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Sometimes that's all you want. Like you crave that pepperoni pizza. Like it's one of those where Yeah, you just pepperoni pizza I can say is the one actual craving of a pizza. And then
Yeah.
I'm getting into the place, I'm like, well, fuck, add that to it, add that to it. But basically, you're going in for the pepperoni originally.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I
Damn.
ask one more question?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
go for it. I got time.
When was the last time? How often do you go to Disneyland or Disney World?
Okay, last time I was at Disney was a few weeks back because I was out in California, and I try to get into Disney like one time at least. This time I was out there 3 days. It was kind of like our vacation for the year. But yeah, so I'm out there maybe like once a year, twice a year
Okay.
if I'm lucky.
So this is a two-parter.
Okay.
One, do you like the turkey legs? And number
Ooh.
two, where is your go-to spot? Like, you have to eat somewhere, and you have to eat. Because everyone has their little foodie thing when you
Yeah.
go to Disney. Like, what is that one thing you have to eat every time you go?
Ooh, the one thing I got to eat every time I go. That's a good question. Okay, so the turkey leg, I've never been into the turkey leg. Like I've never gotten into it. Never even tried the turkey. It doesn't.
Wow.
Here's the thing. Okay, this is going to be very controversial. This is another bad thought, perhaps, but dude, fuck turkey on Thanksgiving. I'm just saying, like, it's not even that good of a meat, dude. So because for me, I'm
That's
always
cool.
like, hey, can we do burgers? Can we do steaks?
Awesome.
Can we do like even Italian food? Can we do Mexican food? Anything? Can we do anything? I'm not into turkey. So yeah, so turkey legs, I don't even want them on Thanksgiving. Like I don't want them when I'm in the parks.
Love it.
Never had it. But
Shit, to me, I'll take the turkey wing over anything on that
Turkey wing is
bird.
good. You know, I told my wife next year we're doing ham. I'm doing a fucking spiral ham. 'Cause the turkey. So we eat pretty healthy. We eat organic, and I'm gluten free because I'll die. So I go out every year and have to fucking get the most expensive ass organic turkey, which I don't know what the fuck that means, but I buy it because it makes everyone happy.
Yeah.
And I cook it. It comes out really well, actually. I'm actually impressed with my turkey cooking skills.
Nice.
But it's just the fact of spending like 40, 50, 60, 70, depending on how much we got to feed on a fucking turkey that I'm not going to finish, and it dries out by the day 2. And if you leave it out, by the way, people have known that you have to put that fucking thing away, otherwise it will kill you. Just like
it's like eating a Popeye's biscuit, bro. If you leave it out,
but I
dry
agree
as
with Jay, man. Why do we have to all conform to this fucking turkey? Fuck the turkeys. Fuck the turkeys. Let's go ham. Let's go burger. Dude, if I went over to Jay's house for Thanksgiving, he showed up or he pulled up with just fucking steaks.
Dude,
I think I'm gonna get mad at him for giving me a steak.
I know, right?
Fuck no. As long as you make enough so I can take it
tomahawk on your
home.
plate, bro.
That's the only best part about Thanksgiving is having the leftovers for at least a couple days. So throw me a leftover steak and we'll be good.
Exactly. You guys are both invited to Thanksgiving next year. We'll see.
You know I'm not gonna be able to go, but I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
Colorado, I would probably die. So you gotta remember, living in Sacramento, when I walk outside, I think I'm like negative sea
This
level.
dude's allergic to grass. I mean,
true.
he lives in a bubble, so
Yeah,
Colorado.
I walk outside, and the kids are like, "Let's go play down." I'm like, "Okay, dude." Like, put on my whole fucking face suit to go outside. I'm dying. My eyes are leaking. But I just don't think I'm gonna be able to breathe in Colorado, man. I think that's
it's a little bit. I mean, we got the high elevation, and by the way, they made me do an allergy test not too long ago because I'm getting old, and they make me like do all the tests in the world. And grasses were my worst one, and it was Colorado grasses. They're like, you lit up like crazy on these Colorado grasses. I'm like,
damn.
Well, if I ever go out there, I will visit, and we'll have steaks.
Yeah,
I'm telling you. But going back to it, before we head out, the one thing you crave or that you need to get before you leave that park, no matter what.
That's such a good question. There's so many things I love like a good festival at DCA. Like I love a good festival at DCA. I like to try the different foods at Disney. I do think that their food is like a lot of places during the pandemic and after pandemic, the food is not as good as it was pre-pandemic. Just supply chain stuff probably is preventing that. But I would say my most craved item from Disneyland is the corn dog. The Disneyland corn dog is unlike any other corn dog you will ever eat in your life. It is. I'm not even. If you came up to me on the street and were like, "I've got corn dogs. You want one?" I'd be like, "Nah, I'm good. Like I don't need a corn dog." The Disneyland corn dogs they just hit very
From the
very
red
different.
cart though, right?
You got to get them from the red cart for sure.
Okay.
Get them from the red cart. Those are amazing. If I'm gonna that's the one thing I would say that Disneyland does better than anywhere else you can get anything. Like those are amazing. So that's the one thing
Have you ever had Korean corn dog?
No, I've never
Oh
had
my
that.
god, you will love a Korean corn dog, dude.
Really?
Yeah, they put like so the one that I had, it was half of a stick of cheese, so it's
Okay.
melted cheese in the middle, and then part of the dog on the other half. You have potatoes that's in the breading of the corn dog, and
Whoa.
they sprinkle or they put like sugar on top.
Oh my
And
gosh.
people could put like ketchup or whatever, but it was the best fucking corn dog I've ever had.
Sounds so
Like
good.
and like you said, I'm not a big corn dog. Like I won't eat a corn dog like that, but
Yeah.
I had to try it, and it was the fucking best corn dog I've ever had in my life.
That
Dude,
sounds
that sounds
amazing.
amazing.
Yeah,
And I am the turkey guy because it's weird. So I'm not a turkey guy, but for some reason the Disneyland turkey it's fucking awesome. I don't know if it's because it's injected with all the fucking WWE like shit that they have. Or, we'll go as far as say WWF stuff, like just
I know.
straight out of the fanny pack from the 80s. Like they're just out there,
That's funny.
they're out there shooting them up. So good, but I try not to leave without having a grilled because they make gluten-free grilled cheese and
Ooh.
the tomato soup.
I love that, dude.
So good. So
Yeah.
fucking
Jolly
good.
Holiday, you roll
Yes.
up and you get that grilled cheese. That's actually I've had that the last 2 times I've been. This last time I went, we had that on the time before, and I was like, "Dude, I'm going back to Jolly Holiday because that grilled cheese, I don't know what they do to it, but that grilled cheese is amazing." And then the soup it comes with, I'm sure it's not even like a gourmet soup, but whatever that soup is
It's good.
phenomenal. Yeah.
Campbell's.
Yeah.
Disney goes as far as actually having Campbell's people and like you got fucking Mr. Campbell's back there making this soup. Um, see, I can keep going on this. Walt's chili. Have you ever had Walt's chili?
Um, I don't think I've had Walt's chili. So here's something that I haven't even told Orange Grove this, I don't think.
Exclusive.
Yeah. Yeah,
We're getting a whole bunch of clips
exclusive
for him. Watch.
content. Yeah, exactly. I was this was actually really funny and sad at the same time. My wife and I were going, this is like 10 years ago, 12 years ago. We had passes and we were there on a weekday. It was super uncrowded. Doesn't even happen anymore. Like, but this is one of those days when there was nobody there. We walk in and this cast member comes up to me and goes, "Would you like to participate today? We're doing a focus group in the back, and it'll be about 2 hours of your time. So we'll eat into your park day, but we will compensate you for it." I think they give us gift cards or something. And my wife was like, "Yeah, I'd love to do that." And the girl was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm only asking him."
Oh
Yeah. And so my wife was like, "No." And so, but I got to go back and I got to try. They were doing a new menu for Carnation Cafe. So you made me think of it because Walt's Chili is at Carnation Cafe.
Yeah.
And I don't think they don't think they were doing a variation of the chili. I think the chili is still the same, but they had a bunch of new items that they had actually a fried chicken meal. They had Walt's favorite style hamburger, which was like a hamburger with like pepper jack cheese and like a green chili on it. And just having that experience at Disneyland where you go backstage, you participate in a focus group about what people will eat at the park later was so
That's
cool
awesome.
that I'm like,
Yeah.
that was fun, man. Like, and I just had to try food for like an hour, like, here's another plate, try this.
The best part, now you know you're hardcore, is like you left your wife in the middle of the theme park to go try food. Hey,
Yeah.
but the thing is, hopefully it's one of those unwritten rules. Like you have to know if you know your spouse well enough, you let them do that. Like, yeah, it sucks, but if my wife was chosen, yeah, man, fuck it. But guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go on all those rides as fast as I can and just fucking have my blast all day. Yes, I don't have to drag. No offense to my wife, love you, but I don't have to drag anybody around with me. That's still an awesome day.
Yeah,
And she gets to have an awesome day, dude.
Yeah.
What a fucking cool story. OG, wherever you're at, exclusive coming here. Bad Thoughts Podcast.
That's right.
Man, Jay, I want to thank you so much for coming on, man. Is there a premiere going to be coming out for No Vacancy?
So what we're hoping to do is do a watch party on
Okay.
YouTube. So we had just really quickly, we had a bunch of filmmaker influencers on set with us because they know my buddy Lucas, like they all know him. And so these are like people who have like 500,000 plus followers on or subscribers on YouTube, 200,000 another kid had. And they all got behind the scenes footage like crazy. And so we knew from the very beginning that instead of premiering this at like one of one of the festivals across the United States. We're still going to enter it in festivals. They don't like it when you don't premiere it there, so I don't know if we'll get in as many festivals. But we knew because of all the behind the scenes content that's being filmed, all of those people are going to post their behind the scenes videos, and it's going to drive traffic to the film, and we get so many more views that we're like, we can't pass that up. So it'll be released on YouTube, and I'll let you guys know when it's coming out, probably early 2024. I don't know if it's going to be January or February yet, hopefully January. But we'll also probably do a watch party on the Orange Grove 55 channel as well.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
I would definitely love to have you on again, and especially after, like, hopefully before the film comes out, but also after the film, just kind of go over some more stuff, like how you feel, and you know, the reception. Yeah. I'm using big words today. Fuck, where am I at? Big words coming out of his mouth. You know, just kind of life after No Vacancy. I think that would be really cool for everyone to see.
Yeah.
I'm down for anytime you guys want to talk. Just let me know. I'm down.
Beautiful. And like I said, thank you so much for coming on, Jay. We can't wait to watch the movie, and best wishes to moving forward for this, because you could tell how invested you are in this and passionate about this. And us from the Bad Thoughts podcast, we wish you nothing but the best, bro.
You guys are the best. You guys are the best. Thanks for having me on. I can't wait to talk about Game of Thrones, by the way. It's going to be awesome. And yeah, thanks for having me on. It's an absolute pleasure.
If you can tell the people where they can find you on social media, and where you're gonna have the No Vacancy at as well.
Yeah, so No Vacancy will be on How Stories Work with Jay Sherer, which is my other YouTube channel that I do besides Orange Grove 55. And it'll also be on the Condor Blue YouTube channel. Condor Blue is what the organization that Lucas, my buddy, my DP, runs. We're actually going to direct most of the traffic there, but you know, since you guys know me, you can go watch it on How Stories Work with Jay Sherer too. Yeah, it'll be in both places. I'll let you guys know when it's out, and then if anybody wants to follow me on socials, I just usually am saying nonsensical things, but hey, why not? I'm over at Jay Sherer. My @ is right here. If you're watching. Check it out. Go follow me over there. I'll post when things are available. I'll post when new videos come out. I'll post when I'm going to be on the show with these guys, or if I'm on the Orange Grove 55 show, I post on there too. So yeah, follow me over there.
Beautiful. And we'll have every link in the description below, so you'll be able to click it and go from there. But thanks again, Jay. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys.
Of course, man. Kenny Camper, if you can tell the people where they can find you, please.
Yeah, if I'm the Candy Camper on YouTube, the Candy Camper on X. I have to keep thinking about that one's weird. And then Candy Camper with the extra R on IG.
And guys, you can follow me at Tones_TV on all platforms. Go ahead and follow our podcast on Spotify as well. And follow our Bad Thoughts Studios, where we just talk about TV shows, movies. We give our reactions to trailers and stuff like that. So if you're interested, hit the link in the description below. But yeah, have a great night, guys. Love y'all.